now you also mentioned that how influential the Caribbean culture is in Brooklyn, right? And so we know the godfather of hip hop, Kool Herc, comes from a Caribbean heritage. How intertwined at the time was Caribbean music and culture and hip hop music and culture in Brooklyn? Because obviously, you know, other boroughs, they didn't have the Caribbean impact that exists here in Brooklyn. But growing up here in Brooklyn, how intertwined were the two?
I don't think that we knew it. We knew how intertwined it was. You couldn't hear it. But if you knew how music was presented in Jamaica, and most of us that were born here didn't know that.
Right.
Until somebody said, oh, that's juggling, you know, and the way of, you know, playing the music. And that's what Kool Herc was taking, you know, just going through songs quickly on you know, different rhythms or the same rhythms, and people, you know, rhyming on, you know, Jamaican could be like 20 people on the same track.
Right. So like juggling, you mean really what we call like switching records at that point. Right. That's a Caribbean thing.
Right. We didn't really do that till hip hop. You know, now you looping something, and Kool Herc is the one that introduces that, or what he would call the merry-go-round. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop right now. So that is that happened on August 11th, 1973, when he really introduced that juggling and that merry-go-round thing, where he's got different music, different DJs coming in and playing different beats fast. Like, we're gonna run through these songs real quick, and the crowd knows these unique songs that are not played on the radio. They're break beats. You might have heard the beginning of the song, but you might not have known. In 3/4 into the record, there's this amazing breakdown, and he's just playing that part. He's just getting right. Let's just get right. Forget about the singing. Forget about the chorus. Forget about the message. Let's just get right to the beat. Right. And so songs like Apache and Super Sperm by I can't remember my man's name right now, but all of these different records that were obscure records that some of them were disco records, but a lot of them were just, you know, James Brown. You know, I mean, we ran through every James Brown record. You can find a beat. If without James Brown, there's no hip hop. Right. You know, Funky Drummer is used a million times, and just Google Funky Drummer and you'll know. And you're like, oh, I hear this in everything. You know, and so so that's how it got started. 1973. I mean, there were DJs playing music before that. Let's not get it twisted. Grandmaster Flowers. I'm from Brooklyn. That's the first DJ I ever saw. Right.
I've heard of Grandmaster Flowers. He's legendary.
He's legendary. He was a DJ that you would hear in Town Hill too.
Right.
In those R&B kind of, you know, with hard bottoms.
Right.
Collar shirt.
Right.
You know.
So look, 1973, you was like 13, 14.
Right.
Tell me the first time you remember coming in contact with hip hop.
There's a guy named Jimmy Spicer, legendary. Made a song called, you know, Jimmy Spicer? Yeah. So Jimmy Spicer is from Brooklyn. And I met Jimmy, well, I knew Jimmy's family. And his sister used to say that my brother's a rapper. And I was like, really? And one day we go all hanging out on the block in Flatbush, Beverly Road, in that area. And so this dude is coming down the block, and he is hip hop in the flesh to me. Right. I'm looking at him. He's got the Pumas with the fat laces. Right. His Lee jeans is tight around the ankles, and you know his hat is, you know, some Kango or whatever it was that was hot at the time. And I'm like, this is hip hop right here. Right. This guy is hip hop, and that was the first b-boy. I heard about b-boys, but I never saw a b-boy in person. Wow. And so that was the first, and I was like, and he just stood there like, and we were
in his b-boy stance.
In his b-boy stance, we were like, oh, this is him. That's him.
That's him.
That's him.
That's him.
That's him.
So, all right. So now, let's move forward a little. So you moved to Queens. You're from Brooklyn, but at some point your family moved to Queens, right?
Yeah. Well, at that time I had moved to Queens, but I moved back to Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I was living in Flatbush on Beverly Road in East 35th.
Oh, okay.
Around that time. Okay. And so that's like, I don't know, maybe 1980 or so.
What high school you graduated from?
I went to high school in Queens. I went to Bayside High School. I played football.
Okay.
And we had a great football team. We won the city championship that year.
Uh,
And so,
you still got eligibility because prime is everybody's going in the portal for Colorado, so you may still could play a year too. But all right, you
I
played.
could do it.
So you played in Bayside, then you moved back to Brooklyn.
Yeah. So I went to college,
Right.
and while in college, I moved back to Brooklyn.
LaGuardia?
I went to LaGuardia, LaGuardia Community College, where I first saw a guy named Eddie Chiba,
Eddie
and
Chiba.
he was from uptown. He was from Harlem, the Bronx, and Eddie Chiba was on the mic at that school, LaGuardia Community College, and they'd have parties every Friday. And Eddie Chiba was just amazing on the mic, and I was like, I want to be able to do that. But really, I was more interested in the DJing because I was already a DJ. I was a DJ from when I was 14 years old. You know, I'm playing music. You know, I'm going to the store. I'm telling Mom, I just need.
Are you getting paid for it?
No.
Right.
Not getting paid for it.
Right. It's a love.
It's just a love. We doing little dances. So what would happen back in the days before there was a DJ playing the parties, there used to be a band. And then the DJ would get like a little 30 minutes in between while the band took a break.
Right.
And that was our shot. That was 30 minutes.
That was it.
We would go hard.
Right.
In them 30 minutes, and then the band would come back. All right, you'll get out the way.
Get out the way.
Yeah.
Script.
And so I began to get a name from that little 30 minutes. You know, so we want you to come back. And so I started to get a name from that, and then eventually I started working in this club, which was crazy because I was young. I wasn't even supposed to be in the club. In fact, the owner would be like, "Do not come out of the DJ booth, because you're going to get me in trouble. I'll lose my liquor license." But I was that good that he let me play, and I would play from, now you go to the club, there's like 4 different DJs. I played from 10 to 4 in the morning. And
So you was playing all night?
All night, yeah.
And you wasn't getting paid?
And we wasn't getting paid.
Right. Right, sounds about right.
Right. And so I had a little job, and with that little job, I would go buy some records.
Where you was working?
I was working in Jamaica Avenue in Queens, what became an infamous spot, Mr. Kim's Korean store. He sold, all the fresh, gear and stuff. Right. And I worked there, and whatever I got from him, I went. The record store was right down the block, and I would go right to the record store, and I'm like, I need that, I need this, I need that. I spent all my money on records and probably sneakers.
Man, it's just every time you say something, you add another question, but I want to keep on the path. So tell me about the beginning stages of what we know as Video Music Box. Like talk to me about how that came about.
So Video Music Box was, I was working at WNYC on Channel 31, and this is right after I graduated from college. And I'm looking, and I'm like, it says public broadcasting at the end of it. So I'm like, public broadcasting, we're supposed to be broadcasting to the public. But I don't see nothing that represents where I live at. I don't see no Caribbean music shows or anything with African
Right, what was on Channel 31 before Video Music Box? Because none of us know what was on there before you. And Bob Ross.
Right, Bob Ross. Bob Ross was on everything.
Right.
Bob Ross was syndicated. But they had shows like so the city TV station traditionally was set up to broadcast about city agencies. So the fire department might have a show, the police department would have a show, housing, child welfare, whatever it was, everybody would have their own show for like a half an hour or an hour. And then they would we were a PBS station. This is before cable, so there's no public access yet. We're a PBS station, so we played stuff that Channel 13 might play. Or things that they didn't think were interested in, so we played those shows. So it was basically public broadcasting programming and New York City agency programming.
Gotcha.
So it was pretty boring after a while, because they repeat these shows over and over again.
I remember.
I saw every show about fire department. I know what every building in New York City looks like and what shape they're in. H, U, C.
Right.
I know everything.
Right.
So one day I was like, man, we should have a show, with something. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't even know if it was a music show. I just knew we could talk about things that are going on in our community, something like it is, back in the day. And so one day these tapes came in, and it was some artists performing, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. We should put this on TV. So me and my friend, we put this little reel together and sat around for a little while. I took it to the program director and they were like, what is it called? And I was like, video something. And they were like, all right, we'll try it out. And then they came back and they said, we're gonna call it Studio 31 Dance Party. And so I was like, all right. And we got this guy, he's gonna produce it. And I'm like, oh, that's my idea.
So they trying to take it from you.
Right.
Right.
It's like, that's my idea. But see, I worked in engineering, I wasn't a producer. So I sort of got why they were doing that. And I said, nah, man, like, I gotta be part of this. So I was the voice of Studio 31 Dance Party.
Right.
And we only did like maybe 10 shows, and there was a half an hour. And then after a year, we said, look, we're gonna do Video Music Box. And I said, I want to do this thing called Video Music Box. Now I figured it out now. That's it's doing Studio 31.
Why Video Music Box? Why that?
Oh, videos, we played videos.
Right.
It was music and a big boom box. So the city rises, the boom box rises above the,
that's
the
iconic.
city skyline.
Yeah, everybody knows that, right?
And and we built that little graphic and stuff. That was, graphics were nowhere near what they are today. So we played around with some stuff, and that's how it started. And the first big show we did was that we aired. And actually, you saw me for a quick hot minute because you didn't see me prior to that. You just heard my voice.
Right.
You saw me for a quick hot second was the Fresh Fest.
Fresh Fest.
Yeah, in 1985.
Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau Coliseum. Run DMC, Houdini, Grandmaster Flash, the Fat Boys, Young LL Cool J, Dynamic Breakers, and it was 15,000 people in Long Island, and it was a totally mixed crowd because it's in Long Island, so it's not like it's the Garden or
right.
somewhere in the Bronx. This is a mixed crowd, and everybody knew the words.
Right.
And I remember taping it, and I was like, so everybody knows about this. But it really wasn't everybody, it was people who knew. So white kids who knew, Asian kids who knew, Latino kids who knew, wherever you was from, you just was into hip hop. And you were if you were in New York City, you were at that particular show that night.
So that show was the first time you really realized that there was like a across the board kind of love for this thing?
Yeah, because prior to that, we're looking at rock and roll and disco.
Right. And
we, really wasn't in that like that. You might have had Chic, and we know now. I mean, we knew at the time. Jimi Hendrix kind of kicked it off, but that's not what we saw.
Right.
And so when when we went to this arena and we saw all these people into this, I said, man, this is bringing everybody together. Like this hip hop is literally bringing all cultures together, and we don't really care where you from. As long as you look like hip hop, you sound like hip hop, and you into it, we love it.
Right.
It's almost like sports. Like when you go to a sports game, you can hug a racist because you just scored.
Because y'all love the same team. Right.
Yeah.
So before videos, it was the Fresh Fest where you kind of, I'm assuming you taped the concert and then you cut it up and showed segments.
Yeah, because record labels weren't giving hip hop artists music videos yet.
Right. That's what leading. So at what point did music videos become a part of your music box?
I would literally go to record companies and say, you need to do a music video for this song because it's hot in the clubs and people are requesting it on Video Music Box. And they were like, really? How much is it going to cost? I'm like, I don't know, spend $5 grand, 10 grand. This is we shooting in film back then, so it's not like you're shooting on your iPhone now. But but rock and roll videos might have been $100 grand.
Right.
So 10,000 was nothing. So some of these labels just started putting together their own stuff and spending, putting up a budget, which is part of your marketing, and making music videos. And I was the only one playing it. Like clearly, The Bridge Is Over by Boogie Down Productions, there was nowhere that was getting played except on Video Music Box at the time.
Right.
I had the only copy of it.
Right.
Like people would be like, yo, I need a copy of that. I'm like, nah.
I remember seeing Bridges Over, but I remember Rockbox. Y'all played Rockbox early, but often. Like Rockbox and Bridges Over, two videos I remember from like early on Video Music Box.
Rockbox was such a big hit, and it to me appealed to the crossover, the audience that I saw when I went to the Nassau Coliseum. Because I lived at that time in East Flatbush. I'm mostly around African Americans, Caribbean Americans. I don't know what's going on in Bensonhurst and in Long Island and all these other places. I don't really know if they're checking in because we didn't have a way, or I didn't think we had a way, of figuring out who our audience was. So, once again, the labels come to me, who's watching this show? We know that we see people and they tell us the record label people that work here know watching it, but who else is watching it? So we went to the Nielsen ratings and the station was like, we don't have ratings.
There's no ratings.
There's no rating. So I said, let me see how this works. I always want to see it. So I'm going in the book and nobody else has any ratings on the station but Video Music Box.
Right.
And it's like 0.2, 0.3. I'm like, so wait a minute, we do have a number. They're like, let me see that. And I'm like, we got numbers here. And it's like, oh, so that's 68,000 people.
Right.
Well, that's 120,000 people.
Right.
Or whatever it was. And I was like, oh. So my whole thing was to get that number to continue to rise.
To go up.
Right?
Right.
Now that they didn't know, that we had ratings, I was like, we got to get our numbers up. So I looked at all the other people in our time slot, which is some cartoons at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
Oprah, some other stuff. And I was like, all right, let's knock these cartoons out the way.
Right.
Let's see if we can get at these cartoons. Right. And we went after that, and so eventually, cut to the chase, we were number 2 to Oprah in our time slot. Which, Oprah was not like what she is now, but it was a big deal. It was like, and I still was like, we can still get it. We can knock out Oprah too.
Right.
But that was pretty impressive.
Right.
Because I still to this day don't know anybody who has a Nielsen box in their house, and it was all based upon you had to have
You
this
had to
thing
have
in
the
your
box,
house.
right?
Yeah.
You used to have the box.
I still, all this time on this planet, I have not seen a Nielsen box, and it still exists. They still do have that.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know, where's the Nielsen box at?
So, to mirror what you're saying, right? 1985, 1986. I'm 10, 11 years old. I'm in 6th grade. Class gets out at 3 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Spot across the street from my school, so heroes. I get me a hero, and I rush home to be home by 3:30, right? My little sisters at the time, they may have been 6 or 7. I'm mushing them out the way, right? And I'm centered at the TV at 3:30 for 5 minutes of funk,
Right.
the theme song, the radio, the buildings,
Right.
and now I'm in my trance.
Good.
It's Video Music Box,
Yes.
right? I remember that friends of mine wouldn't come outside until 4:30, like during the summertime, right? Nah, I'm in the house 3:30 to 4:30.
Wow.
Video Music Box had an immediate impact on people my age.
Yeah.
Say you said you knocked cartoons out the box. Yes, you did, because we wasn't watching them anymore. We was watching the videos.
Yes, the videos.
Tell me about, at what point did you realize, like I realize now that, you're just telling me now that you were cognizant of the ratings, but tell me at what point that you realized, like, yo, we really got the city on lockdown between 3:30 and 4:30.
I tell this in my documentary, you're watching Video Music Box, which is on Showtime now, right? That I was on the train, got on at the junction in Brooklyn, which is the first stop, or the last stop, and these dudes was mean mugging me. Brooklyn is like, whatever, the last train. These dudes are looking like, it looks like they're gonna jump me. It's gonna be a problem. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Like, I don't want to punk out and jump off the train early.
Right.
But that's definitely, I'm thinking about
That's
that.
an option.
Right, that's an option.
Yeah, that's an option.
And so I ended up going all the way to Chambers Street, which was where the station was. And that's the second stop in Manhattan. And as I'm getting off, they go, yo, you the dude from the TV show? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, yo, we like that. And I was like, all this time. And it was like anxiety, bro. I was like, you could have said that like 5 stops ago.
Right.
But what that told me was, the streets don't lie, still to this day, that these are the streets. These was cats that, I wasn't thinking that they was watching me on TV. But they were watching, they were into it, and they were saying to me, yo, bro, keep on doing what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing.
Right.
Which is not easy to get. you know, from everybody, and so we were good.
So, PBS, Channel 31, screams low budget.
Yep.
You took that station and you put it on the map.
Yep.
At what point were you able to like monetize Video Music Box? Or a better question is, how was Video Music Box monetized?
We didn't monetize it. Video Music Box really didn't make a lot of, or any money. Only way we made money was when we had parties. So by this time now, you're starting to see shout outs and all that kind of stuff. We in the party, we in the club.
Oh, that y'all made that famous. Shout outs?
Yeah.
Famous.
Somebody just said it.
Famous.
We made the shout outs famous, right? And people were like, every promoter's like, yo, Ralph, we want you to come to our party. So, you know, they're paying me as a host, and I'm paying my cameraman, you know, a couple $100.
Right.
And then I'm realizing that everybody came because Video Music Box was there, because it said it, live taping.
Video Music Box, right, everybody's outside, right.
So I'm like, so wait a minute. They just made thousands of dollars, and we made a couple $100. I said, okay, we got to do our own parties. So a good friend of mine, Troy, and my friend Sam, we started doing parties.
Crazy Sam?
No, not Crazy Sam.
Oh, okay.
Crazy Sam's not there yet. He's about to come on the scene. But you know, I'm doing parties in Brooklyn with my man Sam, Troy. We're doing parties in the Bronx and in Harlem and in Queens. And we just, you know, figured out, okay, we can make, if there's 1,000 people and we charge $20, we just made 20, you know, up after expenses, we got to pay out some people, but we just brought in $20,000.
Right.
I'm like, I'm with that.
Right.
Let's do that.
Right.
You know, so we were having like, can we do it twice a month? You know,
Right.
You know, and we were doing our own party. So that's how we started to make money. You know, but we didn't have sell advertising. When you watch Video Music Box back in the days, it was no commercials.
Right.
It just went all the way through because we were a public broadcasting station, which kept us pure. And you know, and the station sometimes would come with, well, we have some people that want to get involved, but I knew that once we started doing that, the rawness of Video Music Box, like things that we used to play back then, we could never play now. You know, we would definitely be shut down. But back then it was all new. So we did get away with certain things, you know, and I always was like, let's balance it. If we play something that's, you know, controversial or, you know, maybe a little bit too much, whatever, violence, you know, we balance it out so that it's a balance of everything. And I felt like the audience got it, you know, like, you know, we watch, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and, you know, we're not running out, you know, killing everybody. Like, you know, there's a balance here.
Right.
If you make it so it's entertainment and people can get it, it'll be all right. And I think that we did a good job at that. You know, we played Luke videos out of Miami.
Right.
Luke was like, we broke Luke, you know, because Luke wasn't even getting played in Miami like that.
Right.
But in New York, I was playing the videos and Red was playing, Red Alert was playing the music. And same thing with NWA, you know. Like people were like, NWA, what's this? But it was hard, you know. Straight out of Compton, I was like, I don't know what's going on in LA. I never even did it, but this is hard.
Right. Right.
And so, so that was an eye opener for the audience because now they got to see what was going on in LA. Music videos helped that, you know, because you saw it. Like it's one thing to see a photo or, you know, you're looking at, you know, different magazines and what have you. But when you see the video, you know, you're like, oh wow, like this is a real place, and these are real things that happen. At least that's what we thought. Yeah. You know, and so that's what music videos did. And there were people that were just into music videos, like they could tell you. And my thing was to get the new music videos. So we directed a lot of those videos, me and my partner Lionel, and you know, we worked with Big Daddy Kane, Biz Marquis, Coogee Rap. We were doing all those videos, and you know, and so we would play it like we did Velvet DeVoe on Poison, and we were like, what is this? You know, who's Velvet? Like those are the dudes from New Edition. Like what just happened? But we would play it like right away before the record company even played it. Right. You know,
so you would bag it and then sell it immediately, throw it right up.
So people knew that he's going to play it first. It's almost like Clue mixtape. You know, you knew Clue was going. Oh, he's going to have the new whatever.
Right. So, all right. At some point though, the record labels begin to realize your value? Obviously, they had to.
Yeah.
Well, not even say the labels, the artists begin to recognize your value.
Well, back then, the artists, we were all in the same community. It was a small community, you know. Even though it was getting bigger, New York still. We went to the same clubs. We went to, you know, all these clubs. Like you might see Kane there, you might see Busta Rhymes, you might see a young Jay-Z. You would see April Walker. You know, you would see, you know, the dancers. You know, some actors. You know, you might see there. You know. I'm pretty sure that I've been in clubs with Denzel was hanging out, and Rosie Perez,
Wesley
Snipes definitely was at all the spots, and so it was like just a cool group of creative people, you know, that were just on the scene, and so we just knew what each other was doing, and so like if it was a movie coming out, like Juice, like I was one of the producers on Juice. And when I first came on it, they brought me on it because they didn't have the production team had no relationship with hip hop, and they were trying to make a hip hop film. You know, Ernest Dickinson was a great DP, but he wasn't a director. He was a first-time director. You know, we said we love Ernest. He did incredible stuff for Spike Lee, but we had never seen him direct. So you know, we assuming it's gonna look good. That much we know, but we don't know exactly what's gonna happen. They brought me in to Ralph. We need your help. Can you help us out with this? And I kind of rewrote some of the script because some of the words were old because it was just older script. And then the only person they had casted was Tupac because he was in L.A. Or he was in California. He must have read for the scene of what you call him, Bishop, and that was the only person. Everybody else came on here. Omar Epps, Khalil, you know, all the other characters, and then all of the celebrities. There was a lot of celebrities in that. Latifah's first time I called Latifah up. I said, yo, they're shooting this movie, you should come. She was like, it's for real? They called me. I said, yes, for real. She said, I'm gonna go. She came. You know, this is before Latifah's you know, she's an amazing actress right now, but she's just kind of feeling that thing out.
Right, I think this may have been like her first, this is before Living Single, this is maybe her first real role, right?
92, the film came out in 92, 91, this is when we're doing this. So all these different folks are in this movie, Special Ed's in it, all these different, real DJs are in it too, you know, like, you know, guys that I knew from Brooklyn, you know, and in Queens, but that was the influence that people trusted me because from Video Music Box, because I had done good with you, you know, like I ain't steer you along all this time. Right. I'm telling you, you're going, you know, if you get casted, you can make him some money too. So that's why I think Juice was good.
Let me ask you, what was the highest point with regards to the brand, and then what was the lowest point regarding the brand?
I think for us, around 91, 92, it was an amazing time because there was so much music out. We were involved in making all these music videos. There were just events like other things like a film I was involved with. Commercials, you know, like I did Wu-Tang's, you know, what you call beer commercial, like when Wu-Tang came
St.
out. The St. Ives. I did the St. Ives commercial for Wu-Tang, you know, and you started going into commercial space now because now it's like, you know, record labels can be cheap. You did a commercial, it's okay, how much you need?
They're cutting the check.
They're cutting the check. And so we started to see those type of things happening, myself and my partner Lionel. And that was great. And we were hiring more people. And we were bringing on, you know, the next kid. You know, we brought on Hype Williams. We brought on all these different people that never did anything. They, you know, Hype was painting the walls for us. You know, he's an art director. You know, he really an art director, he was assistant art. And then we brought him in and he started to get it and came and said, Ralph, I want to direct. And I said, all right, I'm gonna throw you some joints, don't mess it up. And took off from there. But did his thing, one of the greatest hip hop directors ever. And so we were at that point. Now, at the same time all this is happening, the good thing about it is that it's all, because cable comes into play. People have cable, because prior to that, there was, at least in New York, there wasn't, everybody didn't have cable.
Right.
By 93, 94, everybody's got cable, so Yo MTV Raps is everywhere.
Right.
You know, Yo is, they doing their thing.
Right.
You know, they got a whole budget, you know, I'm still doing money off of, like, okay, this is my own money.
Right.
I'm putting out. And we
still got the radio with the builders. and
we looking at it,
right.
and we see the monster movement. And this is also the time when hip hop figured out its value. Like now you got Diddy, you got, Russell's got all these artists, Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell. Yeah,
right.
The machine is starting to move, this whole hip hop thing. And once that happens, that's when it's commercialized to the fullest. And that's when people outside of the culture come in, and because they're there because of the money. Like hip hop rock and roll ain't selling no more, we're coming over here. So now everybody wants in, and they have relationships because the record companies are owned by certain people. And so you starting to get bumped out for a job. Oh, this guy is actually pretty good. He did this, Martin Scorsese, he's really good, Ralph. I'm like, I want to use my people,
right?
On the job. I want to have my security people. I want to have my hair and makeup people. I want to have my food and beverage people. Right. Like I'm rolling out. By that time, we in Brooklyn shooting, locking down blocks, and we like. You just see a whole African American Latino crew.
Right.
And it's like, and young kids, we see it on their face like, who allowed these people to do this? They were in shock, like, I can't believe that our people are doing this. It was a hell of an impact on the community. And so when it started to shift, and I remember telling Hype Williams, because Hype was started to do his own thing, I said, just keep employing our folks. And then he stopped and he gave up his company and started working for one of the big white companies. And I was like, you just took millions of dollars out of our community.
Jobs
gone. That's not coming back. They've been fighting to get this from me and my partner Lionel forever.
Right. And
you just gave it up. And not saying that we didn't have, we use people, I don't want people to get it twisted and think, oh, Ralph was just using black people. We even had blacks, Latinos. If you was into it like we was into it,
right.
We hung out. And so, and people know.
But you were using people from the culture up.
Right.
Not from the money down. Right. Which is a different paradigm.
It's a big difference.
Right.
And the artists didn't get it. We would be like, yo, man, don't y'all see what's going on? And the artist was, they just trying to, they're not even getting what they're supposed to get. Mm. So they're going along with whatever it is. Jay-Z wasn't always what it is now. Rock Nation, it wasn't, it was, I'm trying to get this bread up just like you are, Ralph. I'm trying to get this, this Audi, man,
Right.
And so we get it, all right? So everybody's kind of moving on their own. And that was a low point for me because I felt like we had fought for this. Like Russell, I remember telling Russell Simmons, like, yo, man, you have all of the top artists on the charts. You should start your own distribution company. Why are you distributing this through these different companies? And you could do it yourself because you have control over all the artists. And Russell was like, oh man, you're trying to get me killed out here, man. Because there was still the gangster-ish behind all of that money. It was a lot of money
because there's a lot of money
being made.
Yeah.
So anytime there's a lot of money being made, there's gonna be some, there's gonna be some gangsterism. And and that's what we saw. And I really kind of lost interest at that particular moment. So for a second, so like around early 2000, that's when I started working at Hot 97. Started working at Hot 97, and I was like, all right. And Hot 97 was commercialism at its highest. And I was like, oh man, why did I change? Why did I do this? And Funk Master Flex, big up my brother Funk Master Flex. He's the one who told me to go. Hey, yo, man, you need to be on the radio, man. I'm like, I have no interest in doing this. I'm good. And he was like, no, Ralph, this is for you. And I got there.
But I understand it to a certain extent because you weren't. It's sort of like they talking about Lamar Jackson now in sports, right? Lamar Jackson got injured, so he didn't play because he feels like he deserves guaranteed money, right? And they've been getting him on the cheap for the last 4 or 5 years. That's the same thing with you, Ralph.
Right.
Like the culture was getting you on the cheap for so long. I could see Flex being like, well, listen, you need to, come over here and get this paper.
Get this paper, right? And that's what he was doing. And big up to him. And and I stayed there for 10 years, and I was like, all right, we'll do this. And and I learned a lot about corporate. You know, now I see how it works. Oh, I see how, oh, you do this, you do that. Okay, I see how. I hated the way the music was rotation. People go, why do they play the same music over and over again? There's a business to it.
Right.
It's strictly a business.
Right.
So that's when I realized the power of commercial radio, the power of radio in general, just to make you go buy something. You know, it's like these people who own these media companies can make you go buy a Pepsi right now.
Facts.
Just like that.
Yeah. I used to say, look, used to be a song that I hate would come on the radio, but if they play it enough,
right.
I'm gonna know the words to it. And I'm gonna be like, yo, I hate this song,
right.
but I know the words to it. It's programmed. Let me ask you something. During Video Music Box and that whole era, were you happy?
I think there was probably a time when we weren't happy. You know.
I mean, in your personal life.
Yeah. No,
was Ralph happy in these times?
Yeah, well, I put it like this. You always go through, as a creative person, you go through wanting to be in control. And then there was a point where I wasn't in control. So I was happy with getting money. And I could do things and go places and buy things and whatever. But I wasn't spiritually happy because I wasn't getting off what I wanted to do. And what I thought people that I knew wanted.
And what was that?
They just wanted the especially with the music. We love lyrics.
Right.
You know, people go, oh man, they don't rap like that no more. I'm like, yeah, man, because it was layers. You know, you listen to Chuck D and you listen to Nas and Lauryn Hill and all these people, man, like, listen to the layers of information that they are dropping. And then it started to get like, no, it's a hook. We don't care about that. And then it was a stinky leg, and it was fun, and the people were having a good time, but we were like, something's not right. Something's going wrong here. And I don't want to be a hater, and I didn't want to be a hater on what young people were doing, but there was a reason why it got to that point. You know, it wasn't because it had anything to do with people being young. Like you said, it was marketed to them to be this way, and for us to, for lack of a better term, dumb it down.
Dumb it down.
Right. And so that wasn't, I wasn't happy about that. Because now I'm not, I used to go to parties just because. Now it's like, do I want to go to this party?
Right.
Do I want to listen to this artist? Do I want to interview this artist that I really,
Right.
I'm not hating on the person. I want that, our people get money. But I'm not really excited. This person doesn't make me feel like the first time I heard G-Rap live or Kane or M.O.P. or, whoever, Nas. Like I knew when I heard Nas, I was like, this is something. I knew when I heard Jay, this is something,
Right.
I don't feel like that. I get that from others now because I'm understanding where it's at right now, so I can listen to, but I'm still prone to listen to J. Cole's and Kendrick's. And people know the usual four that we always pick. Got the OGs.
Right. The Nas, the Big, the whole. Wow, man, that's a lot of great stuff. How many years did Video Music Box run?
It's still on now. We're on Saturday nights at 12 midnight on NYC TV. It's 40 years of Video Music Box.
Right.
Started in 1983. This is 2023.
Right.
We're going to do something with the Paley Center, which is the Paley Center used to be the Museum of Broadcasting. So I used to go by there all the time because it was near Atlantic Records, and it was a Museum of Broadcasting. I was like, one day I'm going to be in the Museum of Broadcasting. And so eventually, I went in there one day and was talking to somebody, and I went to an event Steve Stout had, and Steve was like, yo, man, you need to be in here. And I started talking to the curator, director, and I gave them 10 hours of Video Music Box to have in there. Because they got like, Jackie Gleason, they got shows, all these shows. I was like, I want to be in the same spot where they at.
Jack Parr.
Right,
all that.
Whatever,
right.
They got all of that. So they never did nothing with the Video Music Box. I can't tell. And I was like, y'all don't know what y'all just gave y'all? I gave y'all some crazy interviews, man. Some content was crazy,
Right.
And so this year, because it's the 50th anniversary, they reached out to me. and they started talking to me about doing something. I said, you do realize we got 10 hours of my shows in there, right? Yeah, we know. I was like, okay. I don't think they knew.
They know.
So they went back and probably was like, oh, we have this show, that show, this show. And I'm like, yeah, I gave that to y'all. That was a while ago. And so we're going to do something there with them. And they're on the East Coast and the West Coast. So we'll do some cool events that, you know, and we'll do something with, coming up real soon with Fotografiska, which is the museum for photos on 21st Street. And I'm doing that with Mass Appeal. And my friend Sasha Jenkins is curating it. And Sasha's the one who did, you know, all those films on Mass Appeal. Yeah.
I saw a magazine article one time. The picture was like you, like in a basement, or like maybe it's your basement with like just mad tapes.
Yeah.
Where are all the tapes now? And have you digitized them? Like what's?
So the tapes haven't all been digitized. What you saw was a portion of our catalog, and some of them are footage that we shot, which is we own.
Right.
Some of them are music videos, which most people don't have, and they're on these these big tapes that we used to use back in the '80s.
Right.
And so that's what's out. You know, we started this nonprofit called Video Music Box Collection, and we wanted to get help, and we still need help in digitizing, you know, hours and hours and hours of footage, because you have to do it in real time. Like you have to physically put the tape in
and let it
play all the way out. It's not like you can fast forward or do anything. It has to be done in real time. So that's crazy manpower. Then you want to archive it. You want to, you know, get all the information, the data from it, like what jeans was such and such wearing in this shot, where was the location, what year was this, all of this information. And we work with an amazing archivist, Sarita Cates. And we...
I know Sarita.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Sarita's my girl.
Dope.
And we work together, and she's, you know, new eyes on something, you know, she's younger than me. And that's good, because she sees things like, you know, that I wasn't thinking about. I was there, but she sees other things that, like, whoa, that was an 8-ball jacket.
Right.
There was only 2 of those in that color, you know. Right. She sees things like that, you know, which is dope. And so yeah, so, you know, we need donations, we need your help. Please, you know, support that, because it's not only is it preserving our history by us, you know, because prior to this, you know, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nothing against Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we work with them, but other organizations that weren't necessarily from our culture were controlling all of this content. Now it's us. We have a Universal Hip Hop Museum, which is owned, you know, and run by us, you know, and that's important, because there's going to be parts of the culture that would be left out that people just wouldn't know because they weren't there. We understand why, you know, gazelles were the right glasses to wear. You know, we understand why Quarterfields were the coat, you know, that we wore. You know, why Timberlands is what we, you know, wore on us. Even if Timberland didn't care about us, we still understood why, and people in the community understood why. You know, we rock those things. And I mean, look at sneaker culture. That's all comes from, you know, us. Right. You know, if you know, Jamel's not wearing those Jordans, nobody else is going to know to wear those Jordans. You know.
Facts. Listen, if you listening to this conversation, I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to drop in the comment section the one video that you remember from Video Music Box that defines Video Music Box to you.
Wow.
Okay, drop it in the comments. I want us to see what video was it that, when you think about the nostalgia of Video Music Box, what comes to you. So for me, Ralph, it's Biz Markie, Just a Friend.
Oh, wow.
Yo, when you drop that video,
yeah,
like, cause Biz was very dynamic as an artist, right? And he had the Vapors, and you know, he was part of Juice Crew.
Something for the radio.
Yeah. But Just a Friend, and again, it goes back to what I'm saying, what you were saying. But I've said coming in good. It goes back to something that I had a conversation with my homegirl Nadia Lopez about earlier today, where we were saying, look, with radio you could hear the culture. But Video Music Box was the first time that many of us got to see the culture. Right? And as listen, if you're 16, 17, 18 and you outside and you also a part of the culture outside,
Right.
but when you're 11 years old,
Right.
when you're 12 years old,
Big influence.
right, this is a major influence. And so just a friend, Biz Markie, bro, I used to tape Video Music Box. I used to, you know, press record and tape it. And like, VHS, and I would play that video back all the time, bro. Like, and Raw Bass too. Yeah, right, Raw Bass, It Takes Two was another one. Like, when you dropped that, it was like, yo, because I would not have, Rob Bass not from Brooklyn.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? He from uptown.
Rob Bass, well, okay, so Rob Bass video, that was done by a dude from Brooklyn. The original video. There's two different videos. I don't think people know that there's. Once Rob Bass was signed to Profile Records, which was a big hip hop label at the time, they did another version of it that they thought would be played on MTV, but MTV still didn't play it like that. The Biz Markie video we did, me and my partner Lionel.
Y'all did Just a Friend.
Yeah, we did Just a Friend.
Lit.
Funny story is that we shot that. I think part of that scene is a scene when he goes to the college.
Right.
And
right. The Kappas is stepping.
The
right.
Kappas is stepping. Those Kappas are Representative Hakeem Jeffries' team.
Wow.
Hakeem told me he was supposed to be there
at the video,
but he had just gotten a job, and his dad said he had to work, you know, and he wasn't able to go. And he was tight when he saw it on video. I realized that. So our
minority leader in the Congress
was supposed to be in that video.
Brooklyn's own Hakeem Jeffries.
Right, hip hop in the flesh, you know.
And so at the time, right, and so why that, you know, that there's a connectivity there is because, again, for my generation, we were able to see black college experience on television live, right? This is a different world, this is Cosby Show, right? And so Just a Friend exuded that black college kind of vibe. Whereas if you've never been to a black college campus, you wanted to, like, yo, this is attractive.
Yeah, we wanted to show that. We wanted to show that this is where we need to be, or we need to be moving forward, and that's what we knew. You know, like you said, there was the Huxtables and there was all these other things, and we wanted to show that. We wanted to show, you know, biz golfing.
Right.
You know, like you know. Who black people don't golf?
Right.
we got yachts, you know, and you know.
Now that was an ingenious video.
Yeah.
Now that I know you did it, that was an ingenious video.
All of that, that's Lionel. Lionel, who was the vid kid on Video Music Box, Lionel is one of the most incredible minds I know when it comes to making videos, you know, and other things that he does. He just, you know, when we were kids, we grew up together, and he would just, you know, he was into comic books. He was into just looking at things and just seeing something that we didn't see. And so when we started our company, Classic Concept, that was, you know, like he just took off. Like half of the R&B from Elvis DeVoe to Tony Braxton to Whitney Houston to Boyz II Men to TLC, all was done by Lionel. I mean, like almost every video. It was done by Lionel, directed by Lionel. So, you know, once the money came into play, like I talked about later in the mid-90s, they start bringing in, you know, some other people to do this.
Right.
And so we don't see that black college thing no more. That's not because nobody knows.
Right.
They don't know.
You said we had some answers?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, what's people saying? I'm interested. Before I go into what this brother's doing now.
Rob Bass, shout out to Liquor Rob. Okay, wait. I gotta scroll. There's so many. My philosophy.
Big. Push it. Right.
Self-destruction.
Right.
We did self-destruction too.
Right. Self-destruction. Big.
Stepping, overweight lover.
Right.
Somebody remembers Old School Mondays.
Right. Remember the Make It or Break It?
That wasn't us.
What you had something like that on Video Music Box.
Well, Crazy Sam started doing that a little bit later.
A little later on. Yeah. I don't want to talk.
But there was a Make It or Break It. So a guy that had DVDs, and he used to sell them in the store in Brooklyn. And it was it wasn't even DVDs. It was the VHS.
Right. So I want to talk to you about some of those auxiliary hosts like Tuffy.
Yeah.
Tell me about Tuffy.
Tuffy became a host with us, and he was the producer's brother. So Cheryl was the first producer we had on Video Music Box, and that was tough. You see, my brother's kid, and he was just funny, and I was like, we should do something with him, you know. And he was giving parties with a guy named Big Said, and I said, you know, let's do some parties with y'all, and we started, you know, teaming up and doing parties, and then, you know, I would let Tuffy host his parties, and it just took off from there. He started doing his own thing. Now he's a big-time casting director, actor, and does what he does.
Yeah, he's really matriculated in the industry in a big way. How about Crazy Sam? Rest in peace, Crazy Sam.
No, Crazy Sam's still alive.
He's still alive? Oh, no, rest in peace, Crazy Sam. Stay
Crazy
alive,
Sam's
Crazy Sam.
There's somebody put that out.
Yeah.
On the internet, and you know, when we did he's in my documentary. And I told him, I hadn't seen him in years. He was in California, and I said, you never realized that people thought you were dead, right?
Facts.
And he was like, he said, I don't know, maybe I put that out there. Sam is a character, you know, he's a comedian, he's an icon in Harlem, he's from Harlem. You know, Brooklyn folks know him. You know, he would get, I remember him telling me, he said, oh, you messed me up, man. I said, what happened? He's like, now that I'm on TV, I can't do the crazy stuff I used to do out in the street. You know, I can't beat nobody up. You know? This is because people be like, oh, it's the guy from video.
Right, it's him.
He said, you jammed me up. I said, good. So they'll keep you out of trouble. But Sam is an amazing guy.
Let me ask you something. Now, right? So currently, now in 2023, we're celebrating Hip Hop 50. You and I got connected actually through April Walker, who's like a sister to me, and she's an icon in the game, right?
Absolutely.
She's family in the room. What does Ralph do now? Like, tell me about your life now.
Oh, so I'm doing the Queens Public Library. So Queens Public Library, I talked there maybe 5-6 years ago. I did a talk on hip hop, and they were like, we want to get regular programs here. We have some, but we need somebody to come in and do it. So I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, how do you do that? And so they were like, well, you know, we do hip hop dance and we do hip hop, you know, this talk. And I said, I think I could do that. So what's the hours? He said, you come in the afternoon, usually we're over with it by 4 o'clock. I said, all right, no problem. So we'll pay you. And I was like, well, we can't afford to pay you a lot of money. I said, no, it's okay. Because I have been going to different institutions like colleges and, you know, museums, and I would go in these places and I wouldn't see us telling this hip hop story. It was usually some guy that was very enthusiastic about, you know, what he learned in school about hip hop.
Right.
And what he, he was a nice guy. Right. But he wasn't us. And I was like, you missed a lot in between your presentation. Right. And I said, all right, let's see if I can help fill in those blanks. And I started reaching out to other people that I knew that were just like very knowledgeable, like Grandmaster Caz from the Cold Crush, like one of the most knowledgeable dudes I know about hip hop. Like, yo, Caz, you know, can you come through and talk about, you know, writing, you know, or can you come through and talk about, you know, whatever, making beats, or whatever it was. And we just started reaching out to people. So I started doing this whole thing with the libraries. So now, for 50th anniversary of hip hop, I have over 80 institutions that we're doing a 8-month program with across the country. So we're working with Queens Public Library is the catalyst for everything, and we work with the IMLS, which is the Museums and Libraries Services, and we got a grant, and then we're helping out other people do programs. So we're working with Universal Hip Hop Museum, we're helping out Brooklyn Public Library and with some of their programming, New York Public Library, Trap Museum in Atlanta, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, LA Public Library, Georgia, all these different places, over 80 different institutions across the country and so forth. And next, starting in February, they'll all be producing hip-hop programs to celebrate 50 years of hip-hop. And Queens Public Library, at the end of the 8 months, will put all this stuff in some type of archive in Sarita Gate, so come in and sort it all out. And we'll have this amazing information about hip hop's 50th anniversary that will live with, not just with Queens Library, will live with all of those institutions.
Right, that's amazing.
And it's the first time that you're seeing something like this, because libraries are traditionally like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. And it hasn't been like that, at least in Queens, for a long time, and probably in other areas too, that whole thing is not, it's not like that anymore. But some places it are. And some places they wouldn't even think about doing hip hop programs now. But you have to, the library is a part of the city. You use it wherever it's at. If it's in LA, if it's in Chicago, wherever it is. So you have to serve the public. With Queens Public Library, New York Public, Brooklyn Public. You're supposed to be serving not what you think is supposed to be, what books you're supposed to have, it's what the public is supposed to. Yeah, you know. And so, once again, just like how Video Music Box, I was watching public broadcasting station. I was like, I think y'all need some hip hop over here. And they're like, oh, do you think so? Yeah, I think that would turn around. I'll bring the numbers up. And so, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a, you know, an African American community. I remember we did something in Flushing, which is one of our biggest libraries, all Asian community. Like, no, Ralph, they're not gonna want hip hop yet. And I was like, right. I was like, you think so?
Right.
The place was packed.
Right.
You know, big up to my brother, DJ Neil Armstrong. And he was a tour DJ with Jay-Z, Filipino dude. And he had an amazing program that he put down, and all these kids came that followed him because he was a big deal to those kids because he DJ'd for Jay-Z. Plus, he was amazing mixtape DJ. And so, you never know. You have to pay attention to what your community is talking about, and you know that's just across the board. Politics, you know, I don't care if Democrat, Republican, whatever. You still got to listen. You know, that's why we jammed up a little bit. We ain't gonna get into politics tonight, but we jammed up a little bit right now. We gotta listen to what the people are saying. You know, and then push it forward. You know, like with conversations like this. Yeah, you know, we could be sitting up here and talking, you know, like, you know, some random gossip and stuff, but that ain't me or you. You know, and we didn't come from that. We're gonna continue to push this type of, in the shadow of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and others that we came across in our time, and you know, I'm a big lover of 5% Nation builds. You know, we gotta build. You know what we're doing. Not saying we can't have fun. Believe me, we have fun.
Right.
But it's a balance.
Are you happy? Are you happy with your legacy now? Because you got a legacy, man.
Yeah.
Like
when I did the documentary, I was
like
that's why I did the documentary, because I have been telling everybody else's story. That's why I'm cool just sitting back and listening to you ask me questions. Like, I couldn't do that before.
Right.
I'd be like, nah, son. You know, because I wanted people to know who I was. I could tell you about all these different people. I introduced all these different people into people's homes, into their TVs, into now, we're talking now and they're watching us on the phone. But I never told you my story.
Right.
So I said, let's do that. And so my daughter, my wife, my mom, who passed away this year, my brother, all these different people were in my documentary. And so you got to see who was the environment that I was in, you know, and thinking of, you know, all these things. People say, oh, we love Video Music Box. I said, this is the people, this is us. We're a family. We're not, there's no corporate. I remember Jay-Z, he said, you own that? And I was like, yeah, I own it. And you know, he didn't know. He didn't have examples of that at that particular time. Right. Of black folks owning, you know. And so I feel like we helped shape him in a way to think like that. You know, it's a Brooklyn thing. You know, we don't. I'm not gonna do that for the rest of my life. Work for somebody. I'm gonna have to do my own thing. So that's what it is.
I want to get to Kai, but real quick, I just want to, because there's a theme in your life I want to hit you to, because maybe you don't see it. But there's a term called civic engagement. And what civic engagement is this idea of being active in your community or space, right, for the betterment of the people. So if you see a need that the people require, then you step up and you create it or you make it so, right? So there's this running theme in your life, like the Queens Public Library, the public television, where you find yourself in these municipal kind of institutions, bringing them an aspect of people that they are overlooking.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And I know I've spoken to you before, and you told me that you were kind of integral in getting Lori Cumbo elected.
Yeah.
Lori ran for city council, but you know, there's this civic engagement that's a part of you, and I don't even realize if people understand that. Like, in a very big way, you've created change in communities because of your work, and for the most part, it wasn't even like it was about the dollar for
Right.
you.
No, not at all. You know, I think about, you know, the head of the DOE, Banks. He used to play on my basketball team. I coached. And, you know, and he remembers, you know, he'll say, coach, when he sees me. But I was still playing, I was young, because I was one of the younger coaches. But, you know, being involved with the community, from sports to, you know, video music box, to voter registration, to Lori Cumbo and helping her in announcing when she was gonna run, to Eric Adams, and, you know, and from when he was a senator. Me and Eric went to high school together, same high school, you know, at one point. And, you know, we just, my parents were, I'm a product of my parents. You know, they're from the 60s. They're from, you know, Martin Luther King. They went to the March on Washington. They came out of that with jobs, which is when everything stopped. Right? Everybody got government
Brothers went in with guns and came out with jobs.
Right. And so, but, you know, I saw how if we worked with the community, and my father did that as well, you know, for fair housing, you know, when people were redlining in Queens, you know, and still redlining, you know, and that just wasn't happening here in New York, it was happening in Detroit, it was happening in Chicago, it was happening in Miami, in all these different places. It was, you know, it was intentional. And so, I had a problem with that. I had a chip on my shoulder. My mother said, you got a chip on your shoulder, that's gonna be a problem for you. And I was like, no, it ain't, because you told me I should be doing this. I gotta stand up for myself, and you created this monster, Mom. What are you talking about?
And it was a problem. It was a good problem. It was a good problem.
I enjoyed it. You know, I'm not, you know, out there like, you know, like I was when I was 22, but, you know, I can still do something to have some say-so or some influence on people through media or through just talking so on. Yeah.
Kyle, what's up with you?
Medicine 619, he said you changed his life, and he wanted to ask, is there a freestyle that you have not aired? Or I'm sure there's probably tons, but does anything stick out in your mind, right?
Yeah, plenty of Nas freestyles, Jay-Z. They'll come out this year because this is it, 50th anniversary. We got to pull everything out.
Full clip.
Yes.
Probably some Kane, some G-Rap. I'm pretty sure, you know, out of that Duck Down camp, because I worked heavily with them. I did their first video. I did We Got the Props and that was the beginning of backpack rap.
That was a major. It
was a big switch,
yeah, that was a major.
in the sound of the music. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, Wu-Tang stuff. You know, I always get happy when I see a Wu-Tang. Because Wu-Tang, you have to really sit and listen and cipher that out. We listen to Raekwon, and you listening to Ghost, and Jizza, you know, like, that's like, it's like, okay, I gotta see that at least 10 times to figure out what he just said.
Yeah. What else we got, Kyle?
Let's see.
There was a fork in the road in that. That's why I said it was a big point, because at the point where Buckshot and them was doing what you consider backpack rap, there was also this like drug dealer club rap that came in, and it was like at the same time. And it was sort of like, you know, it became divergent, whereas rap, even in its layers, were kind of all the same. It became divergent, and
we saw it.
And it kind of knocked out things like Native Tongue, right? Because Native Tongue was like that, you know, real peace rap, like, you know, knowledge, wisdom, chilling, but it really created a divergence with Buckshot.
It was bad. We felt it.
Yeah.
It was bad. We used to get parties, and, you know, and it was like, okay, we have, you know, just to use this analogy, we got the good beverage over here. We got the super water over here. And they got 40s over here, and everybody was going to the 40s. Everybody was going for the 40s.
All right, Kia Marie, she wants to know, do you have a book or are you planning one?
Planning on a book. I have like 3 different transcripts of books, and book is hard. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it is.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get it out. We're gonna get it out. Yeah.
So yeah, there's just lots of love. Lena says you still look 25. Yeah, just God bless you. There's just lots of love, lots of love.
So everybody enjoyed this.
Community. They really enjoy everything that you're saying.
So Ralph, to me, right, and this, I mean, we're gonna end it, on a good point, but
wait, who was your favorite artist to interview at NYC 73?
Who was your favorite?
Favorite artist? I always said, Patrice Rushen. She was one of the first artists that I ever interviewed, female, and she was just super smart. Like she's a jazz musician first before she started making like Forget Me Nots and all those commercial songs that hip hop sampled. But she was like super intelligent. Like I felt like I was way over my head. Fellas, when you're talking to somebody, you be like, this girl is really smart. I gotta get my language together here. But she was really smart. And Gil Scott-Heron. Yeah, Gil Scott-Heron, like I fanned out when I met Gil Scott-Heron because I just support like almost every one of his albums by the time I had met him. And I was going to, in fact, every Martin Luther King weekend, he would perform at SOBs, and I would go to see him, and and I'd come hang out, and he'd be like, "Brother man, what's up, man?" He was happy to see me, and then I got to do an interview with him, and then as time went on, I started to see the drugs were kicking in, and it wasn't going well for him, and and I just like be like, "Hey, just show my face, what's up, brother?"
Right.
And he'd be like, "All right," and and then when he passed, it was like damn, man, I wish I could have said something. But, he was way older than me. But, that doesn't mean anything, to be honest with you, that's no excuse. But, you could tell there was the wrong people around,
And that's a whole other conversation, because like you was up in the mid 80s where, you had like Basquiat's and these cats that were like shooting stars that they fell to earth quickly because of drug use.
Yeah, drugs was heavy, man, in that time. I saw it when I was playing sports, like cats was, like, what did he take? Some pills, we don't know, but he just passed away. Like now with fentanyl, And that's scary, man, that fentanyl thing, man.
It is, it's very scary.
You don't know where it could be and how what's in it, what people are using it for. So you have to be right now, at least to me, like I'm like, for the next 10 years, everybody just be cool, be safe.
Right.
Because this is a shift to me, right? This happening right now, and and I tell we had an all-time high with good versus evil right now, because people will do some evil stuff right now, to stop good from winning. And so that's my spiritual side talking, but I see it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going over there. Or get him out of here, or get her out of here, because I feel something's not right. Gotta go.
Yeah,
so if you feel, your body's gonna tell you, your mind's gonna tell you, your whole being is gonna tell you, this is not right. And whatever it is, it could be job, it could be home, it could be whatever. Go with what you feel is good, and be awake. I'm tired of watching videos of people getting beat up and somebody's holding the camera. Like an old lady getting beat up by some, and wait a minute, but there's somebody there and they're holding the camera.
He said there's somebody there, right? Right. Yeah, it's
like,
sick.
I'm not saying jump in and get yourself killed, but do something instead of continuing to, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. So, come on.
So, just as a final thought, I just want to express that where we're sitting now, Suite 607, hiphopcloset.com, in my opinion, there's a brick in here for you. Like, your work, Porterfield, you know what I'm saying? It's a sheepskin that you've influenced. because you had such an influence on the culture for young people growing up in Brooklyn in the mid to late 80s, that as we fell into adulthood in this culture, we can't help but to harken back on what guided us here. And you were a big part of that, absolutely a big part of that for me. I can speak for myself. I just want you to, before we sign off, I just want you to tell people what you got going on. I know we got the fashion show happening, you got the fashion show, but kind of give people a sense, if you want to plug any events or any partnerships that you have, here's the time to do it.
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, support the Video Music Box Collection.org, videomusicboxcollection.org. That's our nonprofit. That's how we preserve, educate, archive all this incredible content that we've been shooting since 1983. For the 50th anniversary of hip hop, we have some amazing projects. One is Hip Hop Fashion 50, the Drip, which will take place in February as part of Fashion Week. And we're working out all the details for that. But big up to April Walker, big up to my brother Carl Kanai, who's involved in that. And then we have a bunch of new designers that we've looked at, but we want to see all of them. I want to see more. They're like, Ralph, you can't see everybody. I do, because there's some kids out here wearing some fly, stuff, and I want them to have the opportunity to be in our show. Some of them are professionals, some of them are doing stuff for Beyonce and these other people and stuff. We know who those people are. But there's some kids that are sewing and cutting at home, like a young April and a young Carl Kanai, and like they really, like they just not printing a logo on a t-shirt, they really cutting and sewing. And we want that kid to just experience the show that we've been doing. We've been doing this for a long time. Damon John from FUBU is going to be involved in FUBU in general, is going to be involved in it. This is a company that I first started wearing their t-shirts and gave one to Diddy and then some to somebody else, and they've done 300 million or whatever it was in sales, and now he's the Shark Tank. But he started out selling t-shirts on the Ave in Queens, and the Shirt Kings, and they were spray painting t-shirts and hoodies, and the line was crazy. LL, Jay-Z, everybody was outside waiting in the car for the Shirt Kings to finish their shirt so they could wear it at the party that night. So we want to celebrate all of those people, the B-boys, the B-girls. The first image I saw of Jimmy Spicer with his hat to the side and his hands, like, we want to celebrate that person, and we that's what this show is going to be about. It's going to take place at the Hard Rock Hotel, February 16th. But hit me up, DM me on Video Music Box if you know some designers that are hot, some kids that are really doing it, and they can come up with a couple of looks, not just one look. They gotta come up with a few looks.
Yeah, people are saying sneaker designers,
right. Whatever.
OSD paper
I just want I want the heat.
Well, that's my guy. Shout out to OSD Paper Chaser. That's my people.
Yeah, he did my joints. He did the Jack David.
Yeah.
That's just my dude. And he's been a supporter of Video Music Box from day one, and supporting the culture of many of us. And so we appreciate that.
Okay, somebody shouted at my daughter. Sorry. Hi, daughter.
And so that's the thing. Go to videomusicbox.com. There'll be more information up there about Hip Hop 50. We have Central Park that we're going to do a big concert in August. We have concerts throughout the boroughs that'll take place. We have a run, a 15K, 20K run that.
You got a 15K run?
Yeah. Bike.
Oh, nah, you gotta give me a run. I need a race. Yeah, let's talk about. We're gonna talk about that on Plano.
Yeah. And and these are throughout all the boroughs. So we are looking forward. Thank you to New York City. Thank you to the Universal Hip Hop Museum, which is the conduit, and which is where a lot of this is leading to. That we have a space in New York that'll be a big tourist hub. And it'll bring hundreds of thousands of folks to New York City to go see the Hip Hop Museum, because this is not just a New York thing. This is loved around the world. And this will be a museum that is going to be in the Bronx, right next to Yankee Stadium, and where people that look like us are going to be running it, that are into hip hop. It's not just some rich folks with money. And that's what we're all about. And that's what you talked about, that civic engagement, is that we want to make sure that, you know, somebody who, you know, might have had a tough past can get a job there.
Right.
We understand, you know,
Big truth.
yeah.
What's up, family? We good? Everybody got everything they needed out of tonight's conversation?
No.
I want to bring up Kai. She said
I'd
no.
like to give a shout out to you for watching.